Another important African-American voice in the abolitionist cause was that of Frederick Douglass, himself a former slave. He founded the North Star in Rochester, New York in 1847, and the North Star surpassed the circulation of Garrison's Liberator with, interestingly enough, 5 whites for every black subscriber. Now, if you recall, the disinformation campaign of white slaveholders included claims of benefits to slaves offered by slavery. Douglass could speak directly to the question as a former slave. He could speak with great authority on the topic, and as a writer, he was far more eloquent than Garrison was. He did not achieve the influence of Garrison, and that is in part at least because of Garrison's methods that we talked about earlier, setting off those editorial chain reactions. But Douglass, with his authoritative account of what slavery was like, and with his white audience, was extremely important in helping to undermine the Southern disinformation campaign, while at the same time, with the likes of Maria Stewart and other African American journalists, they undermined the prevailing beliefs in the inferiority of blacks with their great intellectual contributions to the cause of abolition in their own right and in their own voice. Douglass wrote that the object of the North Star will be to attack slavery in all its forms and aspects, advocate universal emancipation, and hasten the day of freedom to the 3 millions of our enslaved fellow countrymen. Douglass was considered enough of a threat that pro-slavery forces sought to undermine him. The New York Herald demanded Douglass be banished to Canada, and the Albany Sunday Dispatch called him a saucy nigger. And you can imagine if northern papers with pro-slavery sympathies were so adamantly opposed to the very presence of Douglass in New York, you can imagine how pro-slavery Southern papers would have reacted to the works of Frederick Douglass. By mid-century, then, the African-American press had emerged to provide a voice and a source of pride for American free blacks, and as another effective instrument in the battle against slavery. The important thing to remember about the abolitionist press, white and black alike, is that it placed the debate over slavery onto the national agenda, articulating and spreading the moral arguments against slavery, building support for direct action against slavery, and in doing so paved the way for the acceptance of the coming conflict, the acceptance of a civil war that would bring an end to the institution of slavery, and of course then paving the way for the 13th Amendment that would end slavery in the United States finally. Garrison's Liberator had, by many accounts of contemporaries and historians raised the consciousness of the nation. At a rally after the war, Frederick Douglass referred to Garrison as the man to whom more than any other in this republic we are indebted for the triumph we are celebrating today. And Garrison represents the very best of the abolitionist press, and so by extension we can certainly give credit to the abolitionist press and those mainstream newspapers that participated in the fight for abolition as well. We can give them all credit for bringing about the end of slavery in the United States. In the next screencast, we will discuss Chapter 3 of Mightier Than the Sword, Slowing the Momentum for Women's Rights.